Foxfire this week. Nico, this is an interesting one for you, mate. My head is spinning. I'm hoping for some help from you, or at least the community, the Foxcatcher community, because is there a new weight rule in Victoria? Now, this came across race 6 at Cranbourne on Saturday. Now, I'm suggesting this could just be a thing for handicaps. It would not be for group racing, but for handicaps. Race 6, you look at the acceptances, and I look at it right now, and number 9, Texas T, has a handicap rating of 66. And number 10, the Storyteller, which is below it, actually had a handicap rating of 68. Now, if this was a traditional rating race, they'd be all on 54 kilos, which is normally, that's the minimum handicap for handicaps in Victoria, 54. Then the Storyteller would be above Texas T. But they're both well below the handicap. They're out of the handicap in essence. So they should be carrying a lot less if the handicap went down all the way to down the bottom to China, you could carry whatever you wanted. Is it possible now that horses can carry closer to their true weight in Victorian handicap races? So, for example, Lockie Niendorf can ride at 53 kilos. So he could say to the connections of the Storyteller, hey, I can ride at 53, so we're going to go underneath the minimum. It's really convoluted. It's really tricky, but I haven't heard anything. Nothing's come out from Racing Victoria that I've seen. But I've got a feeling now that maybe if you're well out of the handicap, Nico, and you can get a jockey that can ride 49 or 50, you might be able to ride that weight if you can find the jockey. It doesn't make sense, does
it? Unless he's been eating Big Macs, Ryan Houston rides at 51 kilos. So why didn't Texas T carry 51?
So this creates a little bit more of a real sort of cluster.
His domestic rating was 66. So
so he was well underneath as well. Yeah, but do you have?
Why didn't he carry?
I don't know. Do you have to declare it weights? And maybe that camp didn't declare it at weights that he could ride lower than the allotted 54 minus the 2 because he could ride at 52. It just seems that I think there might be a change here that you can now, if you are out of the handicap, and theoretically the minimum is 54, but you can find a jockey that can ride 51 or 52, then you might be able to be under the minimum on the closer to the true weight of what the horse's domestic rating is. Can someone out there help us out? Has that been invoked in Victoria, or am I just jumping at shadows here?
Well, you're not, because the horses carried 53.5 kilos without a claimer on. It does say here minimum weight 53, which, but you're saying it should have been 54. It's been adjusted.
Because Lockie could ride at 53.
But then he carried 53 and
Well,
a half.
I don't know. That's just saying the weight they thought he could carry at. Like, that just goes into riser as like a probable weight that he could ride. So I just sort of screen grabbed that. I think he did ride it at 53. So for the people out there listening to this, has that been a directive from Racing Victoria that now we could end up having really big spreads? And look, I think we won't see this too often. But I tell you what, middle of winter on a wet track, and you can get an apprentice that can ride at 49 or 50. And I tell you what, and you're on the minimum of 54, but your true weight's like 51, all of a sudden, the top to bottom could be 11, 12 kilo swing. Hello.
And that's, mate, I love this. And I was banging on about this actually when I was working at racing.com, when we were talking about the All-Star Mile, and when it was getting developed and that, we had like this brainstorming session, and I was the one that was trying to say we should make it a true handicap race where top weight of 61 and a bottom weight of, I think, 47 or 46. Just because, in the old days of when Superimposed was running in those mile races up here at Randwick, you had like a 15 kilo spread in the weights. And as we know, if you look at turnover, the bigger the spread in the weights, quite often the bigger the turnover on the race, because people can find more angles. They can make a case for backing the otherwise outclassed horse because it's getting 15 kilos or 14 kilos off the toppy. So I think it's a step in the right direction. I think
if it is that, Well, if it is that,
it's a step in the right direction. But a little bit like the scans and everything, and I don't want to go back over that too much. You just need to be a little bit better with your transparency, and if it is that,
I know, and that's the thing. It might not be that.
But if it's not that, what is it? How did this eventuate?
Yeah, no, I don't know. Maybe it was a 53 million.
And why didn't Texas T do it? Is that because Ryan wasn't declared as the rider soon enough or something? I don't know.
And that could be the thing. I think you'd have to declare it at weights. I think you'd have to definitely before acceptances so they can get this right. But I think it would have to be declared at weights that you can ride at a certain weight. But again, I haven't heard anything about it. If anyone out there does know, because I think it's going to be fascinating for some races going forward. I think this could be really cool. We could get these big spreads, which we love. And as you say, we know that increases turnover. Anyway,
why not just have the minimum weight set it at 49 and say, hey, just leave it at 49. Say, obviously, if you don't get a jockey that can ride 49, then you have to ride.
Well, I think the problem there is that if you do that, then if you don't have a jockey, then you're going to ride at 54. It becomes a bit hard for people to understand that. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure what's happened, but
because this is easy to understand.
Yeah, I know. We've been around in a circle. Someone is going to listen to this and go, "Oh no, this is what's happened," or "No, Racing Victoria haven't done anything here. We don't know what the hell you're talking about." So anyway, let us know. Okay. Something that we sort of know a little bit more about is the play after Gringotts won this race on the Gong on Saturday. I went and had a look at this horse's career because it's fascinating, I think. And then we've got a graphic built, and it's Gringotts versus Jimmysstar. And to be honest, I think they're the same camp and they might have the same ownership, very, very similar. And they're pretty similar horses. You could say maybe Gringotts is probably more being skewed towards 1,600 and Jimmy more to 1,400. But it's fascinating to look at. Gringotts, 25 starts, 12 wins, 6 million in prize money. Jimmysstar, 23 starts, 11 wins, 6 million in prize money. So if you look at that just purely, they're just about the same horse, right? But this is where their worlds have been completely like a tale of two cities, a tale of two horses. Jimmysstar has run in 7 Group 1s and Gringotts has run in 3, winning 1, and Jimmy's won 3 Group 1s. This just goes to show, now we're not here to talk about, what this prize money does. The connections of Gringotts and the Kiramar camp that have dealt with Gringotts, it is the most fantastically placed horse in the history of the game to have won $6 million and participated only in 3 Group 1s in its life. It's outstanding, isn't it?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I actually know one of the part owners, Damien, and he's an absolute champion guy. And he was talking to me about this horse. He rang me one day and he said something to me about the Tamworth Cup. And he goes, mate, I've got a horse running the Tamworth Cup. I think he's a good thing. Can you let me know what you think? And I had a look and he had 54 kilos and was even money. And I had one of my bigger bets for a while on it. I was like, I think this thing's well above Tamworth Cup level. But I think you're right. But it's probably, there's a couple of conversations you can have out of this, Jules. And one is, I know he's only running 3 Group 1s, but he doesn't need to because of all these other races. I don't want to call them pop-up races.
That's my point. The placement is just outrageously good.
It's outrageously good. But here's the second thing is if, like, he's now become the flagship, carries the flag for the geldings, right? There's no point in a gelding going in a Group 1. There really is no point. There's no residual value for these horses. So if you go in $1 million, $750,000 Turnbull Stakes, for example, or a $2 million Hill Stakes. Now, this year we saw the bulk of the horses still go to the Turnbull Stakes, which I love because they're still chasing that Group 1 glory. But it's an example of where if you've got a gelding and you just want some cash, well, you're just going to go to the cash-rich races, and that's exactly what they've done with Gringotts. Over time, I wonder if we do see a bit of a separation, residual value horses running in black-type races and non-residual value horses running in these sort of, richer non-black type races like the Gong on Saturday, if you like. So I don't know. I think, the Gong carries a Group 3 status, but it's worth $1 million. And, he ran in the Big Dance, which is a listed race, worth $3 million.
Yeah.
$3 million is more than what most Group 1 races are worth on our calendar. So,
and I know Jimmysstar did run in the Russell Balding as well and won that, and I think that was worth 2 or 3 million as well. So he has done that as well, but he has been to the better class races more. And I think though, I've got 118 asterisks on that graphic of Gringotts because he hasn't been re-rated since the Gong. And so he could possibly be on 120. So they could possibly meet in a handicap race and they'd be on the same weight. But you look at it and you go, well, they're about the same prize money, even though, I mean, who would you back? Even 1,400 metres, not 1,600, 1,400 metres, Jimmysstar or Gringotts.
Dry track or wet track?
Dry. I'd go dry.
Dry track. Honestly, it'd be the map, because I think if it's a soft tempo, you got to back Jimmysstar. He's got a better turn of foot. If it's a fast run, 1,400 metres, then I think probably it starts to swing back around to Gringotts. But for mine, gun to my head, without looking at the map, I'd say Jimmysstar.
Yeah, I would think 1,400 metres, Jimmysstar, equal weights are both rated 120. I reckon Jimmysstar would lap him. I really do.
Yeah.
So
I think Jimmysstar would have him there. But I think, once you get up to the mile, and Kieran's talking about running Jimmy in a mile race, we might – maybe Jimmy – I wouldn't be surprised if we see Jimmy in the George Ryder, which is actually the race, funny enough, that Gringotts won earlier this year before having a crack at the Doncaster. That seems like 1,500 Rosehill is about as soft as you can get.
Yeah.
And I think if you want to find out about that horse at a mile, that's probably the ideal race to do it.
Well, Gringotts gets an opportunity to surpass, obviously, Jimmysstar in prize money as well, because I think in 2 weeks' time he'll go to the Ingham, which I'm assuming is worth about $48 billion. So he'll go past him. So we'll go from
He's
that.
He's got to beat Sabaj.
Yeah.
Got to beat Sabaj.
He does.
Sabaj I think is no slouch.
Yeah, I think it'll be 61 kilo. It's a quality handicap that for the players that want to look at that future market. It's a quality. So Gringotts can't get any more than a certain weight, and I'm assuming it's 61, which it'll be. And Sabaj would be on 53 kilos, which would be on the minimum. So there'll be an 8 kilo swing or an 8 kilo difference between Gringotts and Sabaj if he decides to go there, and if he can get into the race, if his handicap rating is high enough. It might be about 97, 98 after winning the Cranbourne Cup on Saturday. All right, thanks for that, Nico. That was Foxfire Chat, brought to you as always by Highland Sportswear. Make sure you go and see the team there for all your sportswear needs. They've been outstanding for us during the carnival. We love them. They probably just handle us. See you guys.